is the deck I'm going to use if I'm spying on your man. Fierce. I love her. Hey guys, it's Mystic Rain here. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be going over with you my top 5 favorite Oracle decks. So, I don't really do these videos often when I talk about myself, but people seem to get a kick out of it, so I'm going to do one where I'm going to tell you what I like, and you're either going to agree or you're not going to agree, but you're going to get over it because that's how life is, right? So, the first deck that I have, maybe a little controversial because it's not an oracle in a traditional sense of the word. They are Archetype Cards by Carolyn Miss. And I love these. So these, you're not going to draw a card and like get an oracle for that day, right? But what you do have are a bunch of cards, and I don't know if you can see it on the screen, that represent different archetypes. So this particular one is Prostitute, the Prostitute archetype. This is the Damsel archetype. This card is the Slave archetype, the Father archetype, so on and so forth. Through her particular teaching, I believe she says that everyone has 12 archetypes, right? That kind of makes up like the character of like who they are. Like if you gave everyone a list of these archetypes and you said, what am I? People can actually go off and list what they perceive you to be, which is really interesting because when you look at the card, you'll see that the cards have a light attribute and they also have a shadow attribute. So if you look at like Prostitute, because it's one of my favorite cards, right? The light attribute to Prostitute is accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. But the shadow attribute to Prostitute is places material considerations and security above self-empowerment. So when you're doing like work on like self-development, these cards are really good because it shows you where you're at and kind of the behaviors that you're demonstrating and the consequences of demonstrating that particular behavior. It also shows you where you could be if you found a way to get yourself into alignment. I like to use these cards a lot when people like to bring up like the topic of like boyfriends, or like, is he ever going to contact me again? Or like, is he coming back? Like those type of questions, which are the majority of questions you get. I like these cards. I like to use them because I like to say to people, okay, well, what is he? Like, if you could think of words to describe who this person is, like, what is he to you? And the whole time, I'm, like, in there, like, okay, like, picking archetypes, trying to figure out what they are, until I end up with 12 cards. And then I flip them all upside down to see the shadow attributes. And then I'm like, well, this is the idiot you're dealing with. And then you have literally an entire profile of the person that you're dealing with when you're working with these cards. And then if you pair these cards and you start working with tarot and other oracles, you can get such a good profile on people. It's insane. So I love these cards. I would recommend these cards. Next, Angel Gods and Goddesses. I don't know if you can see. This is actually my first oracle deck I've ever gotten. I've had this deck for many, many moons. This particular deck itself is actually really, really old. Like this edition that I have is like a reprint of it. It's like a reprint of the reprint because it's over 10 years old, this deck. But I love it. Like Goddess of the Unknown, Angel of Union. It's a really soft deck and it's very, very angelic. If you're doing work with like spirit guides, trying to get in touch with your spirit guides, trying to figure out who's on your spirit council, so to speak, I think this is a really good deck to work with. And funny story, the reason why I actually bought this deck, oh, and this is the author, by the way. He built himself into this, which I think is pretty cool. God of the Arts. I got this deck specifically because I remember thinking that it felt non-threatening. When I was at the beginning of my journey and I was like learning how to read cards and everything like that, it was a card that you could read easily because one of the keywords are on there, and then there's a brief definition down here, and then if you go into the guidebook, it obviously expands more on what the card actually means. But I do remember thinking it was just non-threatening because it said angels, it said gods, it said goddesses, and I remember thinking, well, those things can't hurt me. Because sometimes when you get into this line of work, and this is a side of it, of the metaphysical world that people don't necessarily talk about, is there's this concern that maybe you're doing something wrong, or that you're like dancing with the devil, or that you're doing something bad, and as a result bad things are going to come to you. And I mean like bad like entities or like whatever, right? And so when I first started my dabbling, honey, I thought I got this one because it just wasn't threatening to me. I thought, well, this one won't hurt me. So, and I love it. It's my favorite deck. It's always out. I always do readings with this deck. Yeah. Angel, gods, and goddesses. My next deck in my top 5s is Gaia Oracle, who is actually by the same author, which I don't even believe I told you, Tony Carmine Salerno. So Gaia Oracle, guidance, affirmation, and transformation. Same author, so same type of imagery, same kind of like style of artwork. The reason why I like this deck is that it's a really good deck if you want to do something simple like past, present, future, those 3 card spreads, mind, body, soul, you know, like if you want to do any 3 card spread, I think this deck is really good for it. You can pull one cards out of it every day to sort of get your daily messaging, but I love to do daily messaging with this deck with angel, gods, and goddesses. I'd like to do a 1 card pull from here every day, but when I'm like properly reading for people and I'm like trying to get the energy around them, I always pull 3 of these for past, present, future. And what that does, it gives me an overall like energy around them. And then when I can see what's kind of like the overall thing around them, then I start pulling out the tarot cards and I go more in depth. And if you're talking about a boy, then I'm pulling out these cards because we're about to build a whole profile, okay? So we've got a Gaia card here. I just find these cards really easy to read. I think his cards are very easy to read for people that are beginners. They've got a very soft, nurturing, healing energy to them. Very loving kind of energy to them. And I don't know if you guys can see any of this, but I'm gonna try. They've all got the keyword and like brief definitions at the bottom of them, so I'm pretty into it. The next deck is a deck by Alana Fairchild called Sacred Rebels Oracle. Now, I really like this deck. I find that this deck has a tendency to come out a lot when I'm like going through tough times in my life. It's a deck that does a really good job of like helping you see and like find your kind of inner power, which ultimately leads you on that journey to inner peace type thing. So I really like this deck. I also think the imagery in it is beautiful. All women, I believe. I don't think there are any men in this deck, but all of them being shown as sort of very like positive and like high vibrational and empowering positions. And I really appreciate that too. This is also a really good deck for anyone who feels like maybe they're new in the process, or maybe they've hit like another milestone in their spiritual journey. Maybe they feel that what's the word, that like when you start the spiritual journey, what you'll realize is that your thoughts a lot of times will not align with the masses. Meaning, once your frequency and vibration begins to elevate, you will no longer resonate with things that are happening in the 3D world on this plane. Things to you will start to seem ridiculous. The flip side of that coin is that people will start to look at you like you're rebellious or like, you know, or you're just that person. Maybe you're like really eccentric or something like that. This deck is really good for people that are actually dealing with that, because it's going to show you that like there's nothing wrong with your thoughts, that like your thoughts are normal for the initiates, for the spiritual initiates, or for the people that are choosing to elevate their frequency. And yeah, so there's that one. And then the last deck of my top 5s is Isis Oracle. So Isis, the Egyptian goddess. Now this is a badass deck. If you want to feel like a fierce woman, you gotta work with this deck, okay? This is gonna be a deck that's gonna teach you to harness all of your power and use it unapologetically. Like, if you're battling with self-esteem problems, self-love problems, confidence issues, whatever, this is a deck that I think is really awesome to use because it's going to show you that like you're a badass, and it's going to teach you and show you how to harness all of that energy. Isis herself is a badass. I don't know if anyone has actually worked with the goddess Isis, maybe have done altar work with her, or maybe she's just one of your guides. I don't know if anyone has ever worked with her energy, but her energy is fierce. Her energy is commanding. It's like the commanding of respect, particularly towards men. Isis is like the goddess that teaches women how to command respect, how to walk through earth with dignity and unapologetic power, and like how to command respect. And she's like the goddess that no man will ever want to disrespect. Fierce. I love her. And so I love this deck too. So whenever I'm working on like self-love or anything like that, or I feel particularly down in relation to myself, then I'll use this one. I think this is a really good deck to work with, the Isis Oracle. This deck was also recently re-released or reprinted in a pocket size because these cards are actually quite big. I don't have anything normal around me to show you, but they're pretty big. I mean, they are significantly bigger than a tarot card. So they have reprinted the Isis Oracle into a pocket edition. I also want to say maybe they've reprinted the Sacred Rebels Oracle into a pocket size. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that is the Isis Oracle. So these are my top 5 favorites. These are decks that I actually use all the times. These are my 2 #1 go-tos, and this is the deck I'm going to use if I'm spying on your man, okay? So if anyone likes to do those type of readings, like relationship readings, I would actually really recommend you get Archetype Cards because you can literally build a whole profile on somebody with these cards. It's so cool. Anyone that needs self-love, this one, Isis Oracle. If you need it's just kind of a pat on the back that you're fine, like nothing's wrong with you, then like this one is really great. Sacred Rebels Oracle by Alana Fairchild, and Gaia Oracle is really good for anyone that's looking for an Oracle deck where you can do like really simple spreads like past, present, future. I know sometimes the Oracle decks, that can be difficult to find ones that can do that really well, but a Gaia Oracle can do that for you really good. So my top 5s, as always, guys, if you like what you see, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys soon.